Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 12 of the Red Chair Knits podcast. My name is Colleen, and as always, I'm coming to you from my red knitting chair here in my home in Pennsylvania. Today is Thursday, August 31st, 2017. I am recording later in the evening. So much later in the day than I usually record. So I apologize in advance if my lighting seems off at all. I don't have a whole lot of natural light coming in right now. And I know sometimes when I record later, the light on, I guess the colors, that's what I'm trying to say, the colors on my projects don't necessarily accurately show up on the screen. So hopefully that's not what happens today, but it was either record in the evening or not record for another week or so. And I really wanted to get a podcast recorded and posted, as it has been a month since my last one. So, if you are looking for me on social media in between my podcast episodes, you can find me on Instagram as ColleenDiane12 and on Ravelry under the same username. And those are the two places that I'm really most active. If you are a new viewer to this podcast, welcome. I am so glad that you've dropped by to share in a little bit of the knitting and crocheting that I have been doing in the last few weeks. And for those of you who are returning viewers and or subscribers, welcome back. I am so glad that you have come back to see what I've been up to and continue to connect with me. So this week, you would think, being that it's been a month since my last podcast, I would have a whole bunch of finished objects to share. That would make sense. I don't have any. A whole month and no finished objects. Because I kind of caught a mojo of cast on all the things. And when I get in a mood where I just want to cast everything on, that's all I want to work on is my new cast-ons. And so my existing projects don't get finished, and then the new projects obviously don't get finished. And then we end up a month later with a podcast with no finished objects. I have some that are really close, though. So I guess let's dive in. I have 2 half-finished objects, so 2 hose. Not that they could make a pair, because one of them is this mitten. This is the Waiting for Winter Mittens pattern by Susan B. Anderson. And this is the finished mitten. And this one is the pair. I'm so close. I just have to sit down and put the thumb on this one. So this is my nearly finished object. Can that be a new thing? Can we create that? Hose, foes, and NFOs. The yarn that I was using here is a worsted weight yarn. This is the Knit Picks Felici worsted in the Time Traveler colorway. And if you didn't notice when I tried it on to show you, this is quite a bit bigger than my hand. So obviously these mittens are not for me. When I knit them for myself, I knit this pattern in the medium size. This one I believe I did in the extra large. These are for a classmate of mine. I am slowly but surely working my way through the list of classmates who I have promised to knit things for. So I finished a pair of socks last month for a classmate, so this month it is the mittens for a different classmate. Obviously I Still have to weave in the ends. But for the most part, these are almost done. And I love this pattern. It's very easy. I do struggle with a hole here where I pick up the thumb. For some reason, I can't seem to, no matter what I try, no matter how I try picking up the extra stitches, I always seem to end up with a big gaping hole here that I have to close up, which I guess is not the end of the world. But if anybody knows how to avoid that hole, I am open to all tips and tricks. So yeah, this was a really fun project. Is a really fun project because it's not done yet. The yarn is super soft, and because it's worsted and I'm using size 7 needles, it goes super quickly. I think I finished this entire one in one night. This, except for the thumb, in another night, and then, the thumb's super quick. I just haven't sat down to do it yet because I'm not going to actually see my classmate for another couple of weeks. So, nearly finished object, my pair of mittens. My second half-finished object is a sock. And I believe I've had these on my last podcast. This is Bright Side by On the Round, and just a regular vanilla sock, 56 stitches, 2x2 rib. I knit them cuff down on double pointed needles, size 1.5. Did the heel flap and gusset, and a Kitchener toe. And on the second sock, I am not only underway, but I am almost done. Again, nearly finished. Not quite as nearly finished as the mittens, but I am making my way down the foot. I'm finished with the decreases after the gusset. So I would anticipate that I'm probably going to be done with this definitely within the next week, if not sooner, depending on how much knitting time I get. So, almost done, but again, no finished object. But I am really loving the colors, and surprise, surprise, guys, I've already sewn in the ends. I think that's what I just have to do. I just have to do it immediately. Otherwise, I end up with the pile that, if I turned my camera around, you would see sitting on my kitchen table of finished objects that just need their ends woven in. I know I'm not the only one with one of those. So, what next? There's a lot of works in progress this week, guys. Let's see. I want to stick to the things that you guys have seen. So up next, I don't think I've shown you this bag. This is a bag that I won as part of Knitterarium's Year of You Shawl Cal. I believe this was the second of the bi-monthly cals that she's running all year. I haven't had a chance to participate in the last two, but I'm hoping to jump in and hopefully have some time to get involved in this September and October cal. So this is from Eldenwood Craft, and it's a big bag. Like, I could probably fit, this is probably a 4 skein bag. So I love it. And the inside is adorable. And you kind of got a sneak of the project already when I showed you the inside of that bag. But this is my cameo shawl. It is a design by Paulina Popliolik. I'm probably saying that wrong. I will put the name here-ish. If I haven't already, future me will take care of that. This was included in the January post-stitch box, which was gifted to me by my very thoughtful cousin. And I can't even get the whole thing in the frame now, but I have finished the plain purple section. I am now, I think, about halfway through the striping section, and then there is a section of the white that will be in lace on the other side of the shawl. So making really good progress on this one. I haven't worked on it in probably 2 weeks. It's just kind of gotten put to the side for other projects. But I definitely want to finish this within the next month or so, because I'd certainly like to have it done by the time I go home at Christmas, so that I can show my cousin that I actually did something with the gift that he sent me. The yarn. The yarn for this project is Primrose yarn, and it is, the contrast color is Snowy Owl, and the main color, of which I only have a little bit left, is Plum Tart, I believe, is the colorway name. And it's not quite as bright as it's showing up on screen today, and that's because I've got all my lights on, because it is, at this point, 7:30 at night. So, there's the yarn. That back in the bag. And now I've got it all twisted. Ah, well. There it is. I've been just kind of working on this on random evenings when I don't really feel like working on anything else. So it's been a nice project that I can, I guess, put away for a while and then pick up and know exactly where I am, which is something that it's kind of nice to have around, something that you don't need to necessarily be working on every day to keep up with where you are, which is great given how busy I am and how many projects I have going. The next project is actually a crochet project, and it is this blanket, which I showed on my last podcast, and I said that I wanted to be done or nearly done the next time I recorded. I am not done and not nearly done, but I have made a little bit of progress on this. So they're just taking up my whole screen. This is the Midwife Blanket by Little Monkey Crochet. It is a free project, or free pattern, I should say. I am doing this in Patton's Beehive Baby Sport. And I'm not going to tell you the colorways because I don't remember them. It's like baby blue and ivory or something like that. And I have done 15 of the pattern motifs across. And so far I have, excuse me while I count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I have 11 repeats done. My goal is 17 because I may have explained on my last podcast, the friend whose baby this is for, I made the exact same blanket except in pink and white for her daughter when she was born, and I did 15 across by 17. And so I want it to be the exact same size. So, the baby is here. He was born about a week and a half ago. He is beyond adorable, as expected. And he does not have a blanket yet. Now, I did set the expectation a little lower. She does not know that I'm making this blanket for her son. And the blanket that I made for her daughter, I sent a year late. So, as long as I get this in by this time next year, I'm ahead of schedule, right? Oh, no, I don't want to take that long. I really would like to have this to her by Christmas at the latest. And the only reason I say Christmas is that I would also like to make some little object. I don't know what it would be. Maybe a hat for her daughter to send as well, because when you have a little sibling, it seems like all the presents are suddenly for the baby and not for you anymore. And even though I think her daughter's 2, so she doesn't really know the difference, but I still think it would be nice to get something to send to her. So that's my thought process there, but given how slowly I'm completing things, I want to give myself enough time. So my goal for the whole package to send to my friend would be no later than Christmas, and hopefully earlier than that. So, the next 2 projects that I have to show, I do not believe that I have shown on the podcast before. The first is a sweater that I'm making. Let me get this turned around. There we go. Ta-da! I am just barely past the sleeve divide on this sweater. The color is not quite... See, when I hold it up, sometimes it looks super bright on the screen, but I think maybe it looks a little better when I hold it back like this. Because it's really more of a burgundy color, like a deep, rich red. The colorway is actually called wine. So if you think of like a red wine color, it's kind of like that. And this is the First Watch pattern by Marie Green of Olive Knits. And it's kind of a peacoat style. I'll try to print out a picture to show next time. Or maybe I'll have it far enough that you can kind of get an idea next time. Ha ha. Let's see. The yarn is Valley Yarns in their Berkshire base, which is 85% wool and 15% alpaca. So this is going to be a fairly warm sweater. And I'm hoping that this could be, nothing's decided yet, but could be my Rhinebeck sweater if I end up going to Rhinebeck. I'm still not 100% sure whether or not I'm going to be able to swing that. I am lucky enough to live close enough that if I decided at the last minute, it's a long-ish drive, but it's not so ridiculous that it's out of the realm of possibility. So, I'm still thinking about it. I think 1 or 2 of the local yarn shops are running buses as well. So if I do decide that I have enough time to go, I might be able to get a seat on one of those if they haven't sold out. There's so much up in the air with my schedule. But either way, I have a maybe Rhinebeck sweater underway. So making pretty good progress on this. I have used almost 2 balls of yarn to get to this point. I got about a week in and just really had this sudden gut feeling that it was not big enough. And I ignored it for about a day, and then I thought, you know what? I'm still early enough in this sweater that it'll be heartbreaking to pull it out, but at the same time, not insurmountable. Whereas if I had gotten this far or further than this and it had suddenly not fit, I would have been like, not pulling it out, just gonna have a sweater that doesn't fit. So I pulled it all out and started again, and so I'm hoping that this fits. I'm getting gauge, so should fit unless something's wrong with my measurements. We'll see. I'm terrible at making sweaters that fit. So if this one actually fits me, that'll be a first. Oh, so we all have something that we struggle with. Mine is sweaters that fit. And I'm not sure if it's my body type or my pattern reading skills. Could be both. The last thing that I have to show you guys is a sock. It's a little different for me. It's still a plain vanilla sock. So nothing exciting there. But this, as you can see, these are not double-pointed needles. So this, it's kind of in an awkward place to show off because I'm kind of halfway through the heel flap, not even halfway really. But this is my very first attempt at knitting something in magic loop. And I think it's going pretty well. I was still using size 1.5 needles, 56 stitches, 2x2 rib. I decided just the needle technique would be the only thing that I would change for this sock. So I'm liking it. I'm not 100% sold versus the double points, but I could see, magic loop socks working their way into my repertoire. So yeah, I am withholding permanent judgment until the entire pair is done. At the same time that I bought these, I did also buy a pair of 9-inch circulars, which I knit a couple, not even a couple of rows with, like a row. And I was like, I can't do this. Not that I can't knit on 9-inch circulars. That wasn't what I was saying. How do I explain it? At this point, I am busy enough that taking the time to just knit something for the sake of learning to use a pair of needles and not really ending up with something that's a good finished object is not something I want to do. I don't have the time to learn a lot of new techniques right now. So unless I pick them up right away, like I picked up Magic Loop very quickly. Within a round or two, I kind of had it down. So if that had been the case with the 9-inch circulars, I would have kept going on them. But as it was, I did not feel like that was something that I wanted to put the time into getting comfortable with. Someday I might, and now I have the needles if I decide that's what I want to do. Back to these socks after that digression. These are my family medicine socks. So those of you who are new to the podcast, I am a third-year medical student, currently doing my clinical rotations. I have 8 for the third-year curriculum, and I have selected a skein of yarn for each rotation, and I'm making a project for each rotation. So these are for family medicine. The yarn is, again, by On the Round. I seem to be making a whole collection of On the Round socks these days. And the colorway is called Ugly Duckling. This was a seconds skein from her seconds sale a couple of months ago. So this was kind of a reject skein. This is not one of her usual colorways. I don't think it will ever be repeated. I have a feeling this was a mistake. Some of the second sale, most of it is existing colorways that just didn't come out quite right. So this is one of the only ones that wasn't even anything close to an existing colorway. So I have a feeling this was either an experiment to make a new colorway, or the wrong dye got added to the pot or something. But whatever happened, her mistake is my gain. Somebody else's loss is my gain. I don't know. I love this colorway. I love kind of the like marshy, dingy green. Dingy's not the right word. The kind of marshy with the random spatterings of color. This is another yarn that just makes me happy. Which isn't that the whole point? Knit things that make you happy. So, speaking of things that make me happy, it lives in my Cinderella bag by Molly Klein Design, which definitely makes me happy. So, that's it. Those are my works in progress, half-finished objects. That's basically everything I've worked on for the last month. So, I have a teeny tiny bit of acquisitions to share, and then there'll be a little chatter, and that'll be that. So, what I have to share for acquisitions is an order from my good friend Jake of Dogstar Knits Yarn. So, here's the first skein that I bought. This is called Heard It Through the Grapevine, and it is a mix of purple and green. And I saw it and I just thought, I love that. And it reminds me a little bit of one of my sisters, so it could become a Christmas project for her. Or it might just stay with me. Probably more likely to stay with me, but who knows? Anything could happen. Then I actually bought 4 skeins of this colorway. This should be my little screenshot for the episode. This is Kaluna Matata, and it is a purple colorway with some blue and red speckles in spots, and again, something that makes me happy. I bought, as I said, 4 skeins, which for me, for a fingering weight yarn, is about enough to make a kind of summer sweater, like a short sleeve, no sleeve sweater, which is what I had in mind when I bought this yarn. And the last thing that Jake sent me was a one-of-a-kind test skein that is pink. Jake and I had a conversation when he was out for the Steel City Fiber Festival in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And I told him, you don't make that many pink skeins, and pink is my color. And so he sent me this, which was a test skein and not a color way that ended up in his shop. Although I personally don't see why everybody doesn't dye pink, because clearly it's a color that works for me. So I am going to find a very special project for this. And in the meantime, Jake, thank you for breaking it out of the vault and sending it to my stash. So that's the only acquisitions that I have. I'll probably be buying a little bit of yarn in the next couple of days. Not for me. I am doing fiber share, so I am putting together a package for my fiber share partner, and we'll be going out after Labor Day in the hunt of all things local and fabulous to send to her. So that's all the yarny goodness. I'm gonna grab my tea and just a little bit of catch up. First of all, as you may have noticed, those of you who have been viewers for a while, my hair's a little different. I did cut off 10 inches, which was a huge change. I had no concept that it had gotten that long. I knew it was long. It was down to about here. I just didn't realize that it was that long. So I went in and I get to these points where I think I'm going to grow my hair long. It's going to be great. I'm going to love it. I'm going to be able to do so much with it. And then it gets long and I realize that, one, I never have time to do my hair. Two, when I have the time, I'm really bad at it. And three, I look terrible in a ponytail. Like, I'm not one of those girls who can just throw it back in a ponytail and look like they walked out of a magazine. So, sorry. I got it cut. That's pretty much the long and short of it, or just the short of it. Ha ha, bad joke. I did donate the 10 inches that were cut off, which is the first time I've had it long enough to do that. Usually when I get frustrated with my hair, it's about here. So it was quite a bit longer than it usually is when I get frustrated with it. And it isn't that I got frustrated later. It's just that I was too busy/lazy to go in and get it done. So the gal who cut it for me was fabulous, and I told her I wanted something that was relatively low maintenance, and she cut it with the specific idea that whether I had the time to straighten it or not, whether I had the time to spend a lot of time arranging all the little pieces or not, it would just kind of fall into place. And I think she did a great job. I've done basically nothing with it today, and I still think it looks cute. So that's that. I figured I'd address that first, since it's kind of obvious. Probably should have mentioned that at the beginning of the episode, but well. Other than that, I have been plodding along, I guess, through my rotations. I am 4 weeks into my third 6-week rotation. So I have one 6-week rotation left after this one. I finish family medicine in 2 weeks, and then I'll start psychiatry. And after that, I move into my 8-week rotations. So, no decisions yet on what I'm going to be doing with the rest of my life. I am still enjoying everything that I have done, which is making it very difficult to think about a decision. But that's down the road. I don't have to think about that until at least after Christmas. Although everybody asks me every day, every resident that I work with, every attending that I work with, so do you know what you want to do after graduation yet? No, I do not. Be a doctor, that's about as far as I've gotten. Let's see what else is going on. The reason I will not be able to record this weekend is that I am going to be meeting up with my family. My parents are coming in from California. My older sister is coming in from California, and my little sister is coming up from Virginia. So we will all be spending Labor Day weekend together, just the five of us, which I don't think we've done that in 10 years? 9 or 10 years probably, since it was just the five of us kind of getting away together. So yay. Yay for family. The reason we're doing it this weekend is that it is my birthday. So they are all coming out to celebrate my birthday because I do not get to go home that often because of my schedule. I saw my dad at Memorial Day, but I haven't seen my mother or either of my sisters since Christmas, which I was thinking about it is about 9 months, 8 or 9 months, and that is the longest I've ever gone without seeing my mom or my sisters, which I know makes me very, very lucky because I know there are a lot of people out there who don't get to see their family even once a year. So I know in the grand scheme of things, I'm very, very lucky. But this being the longest by far that I've ever been apart from my family, just gonna make this weekend a lot of fun. And it's not like I've never lived away from home before, because I have a lot. This is the 5th state I've lived in. My family has lived in the same place my entire life. So I have bounced around quite a bit. I've just been very fortunate that there have always been a lot of visits. Either me going back home or them coming to me. And for some reason, things worked out this year that I was so busy that I haven't had a lot of visitors and I haven't had a lot of time to go visit people. So, long story short, I'm seeing my family this weekend. Yay! And it's my birthday, so yay for that too. The 2nd anniversary of my 29th birthday, as I like to say, also known as 31. What else has been going on? I am not yet registered, but I am planning to register for the recently announced Knit for Fun retreat in April of 2018. That will be in Savannah, Georgia. As some of you may remember, I was supposed to go to a Knit for Fun retreat after my board exam in April, and was not able to attend that for a variety of reasons, but primarily because I had to move my test date, and so I hadn't taken my board exam yet and was still studying. That sucked. And I'm still so sad that I missed that retreat and those fabulous teachers and didn't get a chance to visit Maine. But Savannah is beautiful, and it is, I don't remember all the teachers that they announced, but obviously Ann Budd will be there teaching because it's her retreat. One of the teachers will be Hohi Locatelli, and I believe the editor of Pom Pom magazine is coming. I'm not sure who else. I should have written it down, but I didn't. So I'm about 90% sure I'll be attending. Registration opens September 26th. So if anybody wants to join me and come to Savannah, that would be so much fun. So think about it, friends. Yeah, that'll be right after I finish my 3rd year, and right before I start studying for the next part of my board exam. So I think it'll be kind of nice to have that time. Because I haven't had a real vacation in quite a while, and I can feel it. So, like I said, about 90% sure that I'm going to be able to register for that one. Registration opens September 26th. And yeah, that is really what's been going on. I don't want to drag this out too long trying to think of something else to say, because clearly if nothing else is popping into my head, it can't be that important. So, I will end this here. Thank you so much for tuning in and spending a little bit of time with my rambly, awkward self. I hope that you enjoyed what you saw and that you will come back for my next episode, whenever that is, probably in the next couple of weeks. And in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful Labor Day if you're in the US, and just a wonderful weekend if you're not. And I will see you next time. Happy knitting!